Now, across Texas, the issue is...
I'm Greg Grugan in Houston.
I'm Stephen Dial in Dallas.
And I'm Rudy Koski in Austin, and this is Texas, the issue is.
During a week when President Joe Biden very publicly sought to tighten security on the southern border and raise the standard for migrants seeking to cross into this country and stay, we focus on the coming battle in the Lone Star State for a seat in the U.S. Senate and two issues both divisive and critical to the outcome in November.
We must face the simple truth. To protect America as a land that welcomes immigrants, we must first secure the border and secure it now.
3.5 years deep into his presidency and 154 days from the November election, Joe Biden issued get-tough executive orders aimed at better securing the southern border. It is an issue central to the race for U.S. Senate in the Lone Star State. Congressman and Democratic challenger Colin Allred.
Now, I've also been critical of this administration, and I think they should have acted sooner. I'm glad to see some action, but this is also going to have to be a congressional responsibility. We haven't acted in a comprehensive way in terms of the Congress since the Reagan era. We have to have leaders in place who will actually address this and will find and do the hard work of finding common ground for us to secure the border, to make our immigration system meet the needs of our economy, and to make sure we take care of the folks who are here, particularly dreamers, who are contributing and need to have a pathway out of the shadows. What I've seen from Ted Cruz is someone who wants to talk about the issue, who wants to use it as a campaign issue, but doesn't and will never be a part of actually trying to solve it.
Incumbent Republican Senator Ted Cruz calls Biden's bid to lower illegal crossings an election year ploy.
Yeah, listen, I think Americans, and I think especially Texans, are very aware of what's happening at the southern border. It's a full-on invasion, and the order of magnitude, we've never had anything close. Where is Colin Allred? He's not down on the border saying, isn't this great? Look, human traffickers bringing people in. People are suffering and dying, and when you see it, you can't defend it. It is cruel and it's wrong and it needs to stop. And so look, between now and Election Day, do I think the Biden administration is going to play some politics? Do I think they're going to try to decrease the numbers at the border a little bit so they can say, nah, the problem's solved? Probably. But I think their view is that the American voters are gullible. I don't think that's right. I don't think people are stupid.
On the deeply divisive issue of U.S. support for Israel in the war against Hamas, there is substantial separation between the contenders, with Allred promoting a peaceful resolution and eventual creation of a Palestinian state.
And I certainly have had some concerns with the conduct of the war, and what I think we need to find now is a way towards an agreement to end this conflict and to find a pathway forward for Palestinians and for Israelis, where we have a peaceful and independent Palestinian state next to a peaceful Jewish and democratic state in Israel. That has to be the end goal. And the United States has a really important role to play in shaping that outcome. But we have to do it, I think, in a way that it brings this conflict to an end. Hamas will no longer be in power, but that we also offer some kind of pathway forward, some kind of hope that there can be an alternative.
I think this is a battle between good and evil. I think this is a battle between civilization and barbarism.
Senator Cruz is far less committed to conciliation than he is to delivering Israel the weapons needed to eliminate an existential threat emanating from Gaza or anywhere else.
As for me, I strongly and unequivocally support Israel, and I believe the people of Texas do as well. Israel is in the right here. They are trying to kill terrorists who are trying to murder civilians. This war would end tomorrow if Hamas laid down their weapons and stopped fighting. Hamas is not going to. They're going to continue trying to murder innocent civilians as long as those terrorists are still there. Hamas is literally using Palestinian mothers and babies as human shields to protect their terrorists, and they're counting on the global media to take those civilian casualties and use it to attack and demonize Israel. Hamas doesn't just want to murder Israelis, they want to murder Americans as well, and they've done so in vast numbers.
My one-word description, entrenched. Stephen, what's your word?
My word, tightrope.
Okay, Rudy, lay it on me.
Greg, I'm going to go with blitz.
All right, a great deal more to discuss. The Fox Texas Trio will be back on the other side of this break. Welcome back. Less than 150 days now to the November election, and the rhetoric in the race for U.S. Senate is beginning to heat up. In pursuit of absolutely critical independent voters, challenger Colin Allred appears to be projecting a moderate message on the border and Israel while attempting to stoke pre-existing animus against the incumbent. For his part, Ted Cruz is dancing with what brung him, bashing Joe Biden on the border, on lukewarm support for Israel, and everything else. Rudy, every poll I've seen has Cruz in the lead, anywhere between 5 and 13 points. Can Biden's move on border security help Allred close the gap?
Greg, I think it certainly will be a big part of his ad campaign, which is why my word was blitz, as in media blitz. Over the next 4 months, TVs, radios, computers, smartphones, they're going to be filled with a lot of political spin from the Democrats and from Colin Allred. And they have to. The polls already, as you mentioned, have Cruz up by double digits, and that's before the New York Trump verdict took place. Now the GOP base, they're really fired up, like the Democrats were fired up after the abortion ruling, which swamped that expected red tsunami 2 years ago. So I'm expecting a media blitz that doesn't show what's really happening down on the border. Ads that ignore the fact that Biden's newfound executive order pen still allows 50,000 illegal crossings a month. Let's put that in perspective, shall we? 50,000 is essentially the population of the towns of like Rockwall, Port Arthur, and Hutto here in the Central Texas area. Political analysts say Allred will throw the old playbook out the door. You're not going to see a big statewide shoe leather campaign like we saw with Beto O'Rourke trying in his campaign against Ted Cruz. It's going to be a big media buy, a big media blitz campaign with a lot of razzle-dazzle from the former football player, designed to draw in moderates and independents, just like a weak secondary that gets burned on a Hail Mary pass. So on the flip side, you can expect to see an ad blitz from Cruz that includes noting how Allred recently attended an event in Dallas where cards were handed out with information on them that showed how undocumented immigrants can avoid law enforcement and avoid deportation efforts. So in the end, with this blitz, someone's going to get sacked.
Rudy with a metaphorical blitz. I like it. Stephen, same question to you. Can the president's executive order help Allred, assuming, of course, the measure succeeds in slowing the number of illegal crossings?
I don't think it helps him, but it certainly doesn't hurt him. Look, let's be real. The Allred and any Democrat trying to win statewide in Texas is already at a big disadvantage. He's going to have to really concentrate on trying to get independents and also making sure that Democrats actually turn out to vote. Now, the Trump base is energized because now he's a convicted felon, so they have some momentum and energy. Allred's going to have to walk a tightrope. That's why I use that word. And he's also going to have to be uncomfortable. He's going to have to start doing some things. He's going to have to start mudslinging things that he may not be comfortable with doing, but I think that can be the only winning strategy to try to take down someone like Ted Cruz.
Okay, on the issue of Israel, Gaza, and Hamas, we have some pretty clear separation here between the two, with Allred backing the Biden policy of restraint and détente, and Senator Cruz offering unconditional support of Hamas elimination by whatever means necessary. Rudy, could these positions factor into the outcome?
Greg, Stephen did a great job crunching those numbers, and so let's crunch some more. In November of 2023, a poll indicated more than 60% of Jewish voters giving Joe Biden a high job approval, enough including support on with how he was dealing with the war against Hamas. Now, traditionally, Democrats win most of the American Jewish vote, but they're lately, some are indicating, seeing a possible shift that is underway, not necessarily a big one, but a shift nonetheless. So a poll earlier this year in New York indicated more than 50% of American Jewish voters there in New York say that they intend to vote for Trump. Now, I haven't seen any kind of similar polling here in Texas regarding that, on that point, but Allred and the Democrats, and here's my point, they're already working from a voting deficit. Stephen, again, touching on that, and so that's all based on voter turnout. Traditionally, GOP has a stronger voter turnout. So even a small drop in the Jewish support here in Texas, that's going to hurt on Election Day.
Quickly, Stephen, Congressman Allred likes to characterize Cruz as a me guy and not a we guy, hoping to capitalize on what he clearly believes is a pervasive dislike of the incumbent. Is this a strategy that can work?
I mean, yeah, can it work? Yeah, with a lot of money and a lot of money. to get his name out there, and then Democrats have to turn out.
We're going to have to leave it there. To see this episode, go to our station's YouTube pages.
And keep the conversation going by interacting with us on social media.
And join us next week as we continue the ball rolling on hot topics. And don't forget, let us know what you think the issue is.